Michelle here with the Traveling Epicurean. Today's menu is all about frittatas. I've shown you my zucchini torta and the difference between a torta and a frittata. And I've gotten a couple requests over the last few months to get you one of my frittata recipes. And it's the perfect time because there are so many lovely vegetables out there. So we want to use up those vegetables we have in the fridge and make ourselves an Italian frittata. Come with me, I'm going to show you what we're going to need to get going. This is what we're going to need to make our frittata today. We have a dozen eggs, thinly sliced sweet onion, Reggiano Parmigiano, some half and half, Gruyere cheese that I shredded myself, baby bellas, fresh kale, Campari tomatoes I'm going to thinly slice and decorate the top with, salt and pepper and olive oil, and our 10-inch cast iron pan. It holds the heat nice and evenly, and that's what we're going to be sauteing and putting the frittata in when we pop it into the oven. I really love frittatas. I mean, you can use all the vegetables that you have left over in your fridge, mix them in with the eggs, and pop it in the oven, and you have yourself a really nice dish. We're going to slice up the mushrooms and the kale. I'm going to show you how to take it off the rib here because you don't want the thick rib here. So we're just going to be holding it like this and pulling away. I'll show you a close-up like that. Just hold the ribbing in one hand, and then it really easily comes off if you just pull apart just like that, even to the tip. You don't want any of this ribbing because it's just very tough and fibrous, and we're just going to put it to the side. And then we have all these gorgeous leaves. So we'll probably use about 3 cups. It does cook down. It doesn't cook down as much as spinach, but it certainly does cook down. I love kale. It's such a superfood. If I'm not cooking with it, I'm putting it in my NutriBlender, and I'm making shakes with mango and peaches and vanilla yogurt. It's out of this world. And then I'm going to slice these into strips. They're a lot thicker than using spinach. So we want to slice them thin, and then they're going to saute really nicely after we get the onions and then get the thinly sliced mushrooms in there. All right, so we have this mound here, and now I'm just going to thinly slice so it helps to saute because there's really more substance to this than a bunch of fresh spinach. What I like about kale is it's really plentiful. 3 large stalks gave us 3 cups of sliced kale. That's pretty nice. All right, so I'm going to take the baby bells and I'm going to take off all the stems, and I'm going to thinly slice this. We have to saute the onions and the kale and the mushrooms. There's moisture in here. You don't want moisture in your frittata because that's not good for the texture. In fact, it's important to also use dairy in your frittata. Otherwise, you get kind of a spongy texture and not really a lovely, almost custardy texture. It's not going to be as custardy as, say, a quiche because we're not using half as much dairy product in there, but you are going to use, for 12 eggs, we're only going to use 1/2 cup, and it makes all the difference in the world. So we're going to thinly slice these mushrooms. Sauteing the onion first, then the mushrooms, and then we'll add in the kale last. Then we're going to beat our eggs, and we'll add the eggs in and the cheeses. And I'm going to slice up these Campari tomatoes, and we're going to decorate it. It's going to look really, really beautiful. And then it's only about 23 minutes in the oven. You don't want a burnt egg. There's nothing worse than burning the eggs, so you want to keep an eye on that. Originally, this came about to use up those vegetables that you had from the night before in your fridge. But I find myself always wanting to put in specific vegetables that I just love with cheese and egg. So we have our thinly sliced mushrooms, our thinly sliced onions. The onions are going to make the kale a little sweeter. It's going to add some sweetness to it. I'm going to slice up those tomatoes, and right now I'm going to crack the eggs and get all the eggs in there. What a fun dish this is. You don't have to have it hot. It could be room temperature. It's a quick and easy dish for guests. I love making frittatas. My mother used to make these when I was young, and I think it's just a universal dish. Everybody loves a frittata. I'm whisking my eggs. You want to season also as you go along. We're going to render out all the water from the vegetables. I'm going to add some salt to my eggs right now and my half and half. You really need dairy. You don't want your frittata to have a spongy, rubbery texture to it. So it's really important to put in some kind of dairy. You don't want 1% or 2%, that's like adding water. So you might as well not add that at all. But a creme fraiche or a sour cream, half and half. I always add heavy cream to my quiches, but this is not a quiche, it's a frittata. So, and we're not adding in half as much dairy to this frittata as we would add in for a quiche anyways. Alright, so that's ready. So let's get over to the stove and start sauteing these onions. Okay, the pan is good and hot. I'm going to add in my onions. Hear that sizzle? That's what we want. We're going to do the onions for about 5 minutes. I really love the sweetness that this Vidalia onion adds to the frittata. And since we're not using spinach and we're using my superfood kale, it's a little more hearty and earthy. So I feel like the sweet onions really help to complement that earthiness of the kale. So we'll let those go for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add in our mushrooms. Oh my goodness, love the smell of onions cooking. The aroma that it gives off, it smells really, really good. Okay, I'm going to add in the mushrooms. We've just gotten them a little bit golden. They're going to keep caramelizing as we're cooking our mushrooms too. And now I'm going to add a little bit of salt to help render out all of that moisture. You don't want the moisture in the frittata, as I mentioned before. It's just not a good match for great texture in that frittata if you have too much water. So it's just all about sautéing and layering with a little bit of seasoning as you go along, because eggs certainly need seasoning. Those are looking beautiful already. It smells really, really sweet right now. Alright, let me get a little salt and I'll sprinkle that on there. And then we'll drop in the kale. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle in about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're starting to season. And a little less than that of the pepper. You can also do a couple dashes of sriracha. You know me, my sriracha. I love sriracha. It's just a nice, thick, full flavor item. See all the juices coming out of those mushrooms right now? Really, really nice. The heat is on like a medium-high heat, because we don't want these to simmer. We want them to saute and turn a little bit golden. Color means flavor, remember? And so I'm going to add in our kale right when the juices of the mushrooms come out. So now I have the kale in there. It's just, these colors are really beautiful. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. It's going to be great in the frittata. I love using the Gruyere because even though it's a little bit stinky, the flavor and the creaminess, it's creamy and nutty, and it's going to make this frittata really, really delicious. Sprinkle in a little bit more salt on top of that kale. We really don't need the kale completely wilted. We're just trying to extract the moisture out of our vegetables here. So I think that looks really, really nice. I'm going to add the cheese to the eggs, and then we're going to pour that over our kale and mushroom mixture. Okay, I turned the stove off. I see the kale's wilted and everything looks absolutely perfect. I am going to give a little bit of pepper because I haven't done that yet. And then, taste it because you want to make sure that it's properly seasoned. Perfect. All right, so I have our 12 eggs, which I did beat up before. I added in the Reggiano. I took out a half a cup of my Gruyere because that I'm going to layer on the top underneath the tomatoes. And we'll just mix that in there. And then I'm going to pour this egg mixture right into our pan with all our goodies, our mushrooms and our sauteed onions and kale. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. And give it a mix, it'll help to distribute all the ingredients evenly so you don't have big clumps. Oh, that looks so pretty. I cannot wait to have a bite of this. Okay, now I'm gonna layer some more Gruyere right on top of that. And then I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with the tomatoes. I guess being with my art background, I like a little bit more color. So these really nice Campari tomatoes are gonna be perfect on there. I'm gonna decorate the top of my frittata with these really pretty tomatoes. Isn't that beautiful? I'm gonna pop this in the oven right now, and this cast iron pan will retain the heat, so it's gonna keep cooking just a little bit after I take it out of the oven. Look how gorgeous this is. Oh my goodness, it just came out of the oven. See the edges here? They're slightly golden. You don't want any brown on the top because it'll start to smell like burnt egg. This is absolutely perfect. It's puffed up and now it's going down a little bit. You want to let this sit for about at least 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. And then it pulls away from the edges too. I can't wait to have a bite of this. It's going to be so good. Now, remember how we sauteed all the vegetables so there wouldn't be any water or any residuals left over from the moisture from the vegetables? So we didn't saute these tomatoes. As you can see, there's just a little bit of moisture, but it is evaporating as this frittata cools. So a little trick I'll show you is just to sprinkle some Parmesan right on top, and then that just soaks up any of that little bit of juice that comes from those sliced Campari tomatoes. You really don't need a lot because there's not a lot of juice. That evaporated as those were cooking as well, but it is so pretty. It's really lovely. It's sunken down, and I'm going to start to slice this. Keep slicing. And also, I've taken my spatula and I'm just going around the edges. As it cools, it pulls away, but sometimes it needs just a little bit of help, but it comes out really nicely. Look at how gorgeous that is. Oh my goodness. That's really beautiful. Give a couple of shaves of Parmesan there. Isn't that gorgeous? Look how beautiful that is. I can't wait to get a fork and taste this. Now I want you to be creative with this recipe. Just a few things to follow. Unbelievable. Serve this with maybe some sliced sourdough for a luncheon. And we kept it simple. I see so many recipes where they keep the pan on the stovetop, pulling in the sides to cook the egg more before they put it into the oven. You don't need to do that. Saute the vegetables, add the egg and cheese into the oven, and you get this amazing frittata. Be creative, use some feta or goat cheese if you don't want to use the Gruyere, or cheddar, your favorite cheeses and your favorite vegetables with this frittata. You can't go wrong. You could find the recipe at thetravelingepicurean.com. Ciao!